take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Take Flight Podcast. This is episode 133 with myself, Pabilo, who's going to be recording a very short takeaway for you. So today's episode is really about a celebration of a unique milestone which I've recently achieved. And I think it's something which is quite rare for my generation. And that's the fact that I've reached a 10th year work anniversary with the same organization. So for those who are not already aware, I work for a pharmaceutical company called Novartis, based in their headquarters here in Basel, Switzerland. And when I look back, it's been an incredible journey. I've developed immensely as a person. It's sometimes often hard to put into words, what that journey really means to me. And if someone had said to me when I arrived here 10 years ago, what I would be able to have achieved from a professional and personal standpoint, I would have just laughed in their face and said, that doesn't sound like that's me. It would have been very difficult and hard to have fathomed at the time. So, it means a lot to me to be able to reach this point and then share sort of, what it looked like, what's kind of happened from a career standpoint. How did I evolve? I've got a few, I've got 10, learning and reflections, maybe one for each year I wanted to give back. I also want to talk a little bit about what I'm most proud about. And if you wait to the very end of the episode, I think I've saved the best, to last. So to kick off, I want to go right back to the very beginning to sort of walk you through the journey as to how I've got to this point now. And it was actually during my final year of exams at university, studying, preparing, for that last stretch, and I received an email asking if I would be interested in a 3-month internship in Basel to work for Novartis. And at the time, I didn't know where Basel was. It was the first time hearing about it. And I didn't know what Novartis was as a company, what products and services they would be offering. But if something was telling me, if you can actually secure this internship, it would be good use of your summer. So at 22 years of age, that was the plan, to go to Basel, spend 3 months there, and then return back to the UK to work in the city. My vision was very much to work in the investment banking industry at that time. So my internship was extended for another 2 months. And then after the 5th month of being in Basel, I was then offered a full-time role as a business analyst, which, as you can imagine, I was extremely happy to have that opportunity to really sort of start my career. That first role was really just a great opportunity to learn what it meant to be part of a multinational organization, right? So just being around, a number of senior leaders and executives, getting a chance to present to executives and share my story. So I was in that role for sort of 18 months, just really learning. And I think it was a great first beginner role. I then moved into internal audit function, which was an incredible experience, being able to travel across a number of different European countries. I was traveling every 3 weeks to a different country, leading teams, sitting on the table with senior leaders in those countries to discuss what was working well, what needed to improve, and learn so much just about leadership and behaviors and how to build trust and galvanize teams to get things done. And I was there for 3.5 years before I then moved into a head financial analyst role, which covered 9 countries at the time. The P&L size was about 700 to 800 million. So that was a great role just to be able to understand, resource allocation and how you would move capital between different countries to get the better out of each country, and where were the better investments and bets to make. After that, I spent a year then driving a few strategic projects. I then used that experience to land where I am now, which is actually out of finance, and it's more as a strategic assistant to the general manager in driving and leading a transformation at the local organization. So that's kind of a little bit about what's kind of happened over the last 10 years from how my career sort of evolved. And what I wanted to do, is actually in no particular order, was sort of share some of the learnings and reflections that I've picked up, and I thought, and I think some of this would perhaps help people in just how they think about their careers and what they're doing. So I think the very first thing, and as I mentioned in no particular order, is to keep an open mind. When I look back, I think experimenting is very important. I should have taken even more leaps of faith, because in the end it always works out if you have the right intention, and you're willing to work that opportunity that's given to you. I think in the end, it really does work out. So I would not be telling you this story today if I did not have an open mind back when I was 22 and I decided to lean into that opportunity. So it's very, very important to keep an open mind and not to sort of stay, thinking sort of in a box per se. I think the second thing that I've learned in the last 10 years is that people and those relationships are the ultimate currency. Really, I've learned the most I've learned is from different people and different individuals, right? Listening to different associates and their stories. Many of the opportunities and my roles that I've actually got over those years have come from, the relationships that I've had. And in the end, I know sometimes we look at this organization, but it's really just a group of people that are working together to serve the same mission. So for me, I've really learned it's so important to invest in people, right? In many different avenues, and it's important to work with different people from different walks of life. So people and relationships are the ultimate currency. Third, I think you perform at your highest level when you bring your full self to work. My best work in the last 10 years have only been when I've taken the cuffs off, I've not held myself back, I've not been a fraction of myself, and I've really been able to deliver, right? So I've curated an environment where I've been able to speak up, execute with confidence, and really, really make a difference and deliver with impact. Whenever I've been a fraction of myself, it hasn't delivered with impact, and it just is not as meaningful, right, as it is when I am my full self. So it's really about shaping that environment that you're in, so you can bring your full self to work. The fourth learning is every few years, try to learn from a different function or a different part of the business or a different product team. Think about what kind of combinations can you create over your career, right? It's one of the ways sometimes I try to look at it is look at your organization as a giant P&L, and you want to spend time in every different part of that P&L. So a bit of sales, a bit of marketing, manufacturing, operation. Now, yes, it all depends on your career aspirations, but I think one of the things here for me is not to be too fixated on one area for too long. I've had 7 roles in sort of the last 10 years. And that's really, I think, where you get, lots of learning, and you build sort of great breadth to your experience in Arsenal. The fifth, I think you need to have career mentors to challenge your thinking and provide direction. They really help to remove blind spots. There's always a level of experience that you can benefit from speaking to senior managers. One of the things I also realized as well is that senior managers, senior leaders are always willing to want to help, just providing you put your hand up and you actually say, I need help. I would like to have some help, right? So but they played a very, very important role in helping to shape my thinking from a professional and also from a personal standpoint. Number 6, interestingly enough, your strengths can become your weaknesses or your derailers in the wrong moments. So I'll say that again. Your strengths can be your weaknesses or derailers in the wrong moments. And I'll just give an example. Let's say, for example, that I am considered to be really good in having confidence in the ability to pitch, present, and tell a story to senior management about performance, or influence an idea about what we can do with regards to a transformation. If in that meeting I overdo it, if in that meeting I sort of take over and I try to really force home a point, I've turned that strength into weakness, because ultimately what could have happened at the time is I would have shut out my team members who also need to speak, right? So this is something, this point here, I think, is a really, really key point to understand, is that a lot of times, if you're not careful, your strengths can be a weakness in the wrong moments. It's understanding when is that moment to apply that right balance so you don't overdo it. Point number 7, take full advantage of all development programs in a corporation. Don't just learn from your roles, really study your roles, study the conversation that you have with people. Every opportunity is a learning opportunity. Treat quarterly reviews, mid-year reviews, year-end reviews seriously, because everything that you're learning from there, picking up from there, the feedback and the skills that you're developing are all transferable into what you're doing. Everything that you are learning along your journey plays a role at a later stage. Number 8, a key question to continuously ask yourself in an organization or wherever you are is, what would you do if this was your own business? So whenever you're working a situation, a lot of times we just tend to look at it, well, I'm just here, I'm playing a role. But if this was your business, what decision would you make, or what actually would you advise or suggest within the team? Number 9, you have to market yourself within your own company. Something that's overlooked, right? No one's really going to do it for you. It's going beyond your CV. You are your best cheerleader. Yes, let your work do most of the talking, but you really have to get your name out there. If you're trying to build a career, you want to be at the top of certain senior leaders. So marketing is something which is very, very important and not to be overlooked. And I think the last thing, number 10, is develop yourself beyond the role. So how can you start a number of activities, and eventually be in a position where you're wearing multiple hats, whether that's mentoring or starting a foundation, or thinking about pulling different departments or teams together to offer a particular service. But this is one of the ways that you can really, really make yourself extremely valuable. So those were some 10 reflections or learnings. I just picked 10 because it's a 10th work anniversary. I've got many, many more. That was in no particular order, but some of those have really, really played a key role in my journey. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm most proud about, and it's actually nothing to do with the role. It's not me per se. What I'm most proud about is that the mentoring program that I joined on, SCO, Sponsored Educational Opportunities, started off with 5 people. I was one of the 5, and in the 10 years, it's kind of opened its door to probably more than 100 interns. So, and that for me is incredible, because ultimately I think our responsibility is to make the most of every opportunity we're given, and to leave the doors open for similar talents and same talents from similar backgrounds to come through and also, help to change their lives. So, I'm just one person of many that could maybe share a very similar story of what the last 10 years have basically looked like, sounded like, how it's helped me. And they can also share the same. So I think that for me is my proudest moment, in just being able to foster this program in any way, shape, or form. I think taking it seriously enough, and by doing well, it gives senior leaders and management a chance to understand why this is important to continue, right? So that's really honestly my most proudest moment. And and then the very last piece, I think, which is very important, and there's a key message behind this, is I have a list of people that I would like to thank. Many of those people don't actually probably listen to the Take Flight podcast, but that's besides the point. I think there's a key message behind this, and I think these people that I mentioned next have played a pivotal role in the last 10 years. And I'll just start off by first thanking Harry Kirsch, David Murray, Francisco Martinez, Marcus Zeller, Daniela Kenk, Rajesh Jessikan, Yap Van O, Andre Meyer, Margaret Dean, Ishi Usami, Jamarco Calvo, Judith Love, everyone in my current team today, and last but not least, Shual Ahmed. There's no other person that I would have wanted to run this race with in this journey. And the reason why I mention these names, especially, and I know that probably a number of people don't listen to this podcast that I've mentioned, is because it takes a village to move a mountain in order to achieve success. So whenever you look at someone and you consider that person to be successful, more than likely there's probably 20 or more people behind that person that have really contributed to their success and have shaped it in some way. And everyone that I mentioned has played a key role in the last 10 years. Right? I've kind of tried to make the most of my opportunities, but those opportunities have to be given to me. So I'm extremely thankful. It's a real blessing to be able to record this Take Flight episode, because when I first joined in 2012, I said it would be cool, right, if I could do 10 years and build a career whilst I'm here. But who knows? Let's see what happens. And sort of the dream or the wish has actually come true. So very, very thankful for everyone that's played a role. And in the last thing I actually say is, the way I like to thank people that have helped me is to continue to help other people also. So that's really what, as I mentioned before, I'm most proud about, and will continue to foster in other young talents. So I hope this episode has helped. Just wanted to give a summary on my career, some reflections, why it's important to thank people that have helped you along your journey. Again, if you've got any questions or any thoughts or comments, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, Pabilo Timbo, or reach out to us on Take Flight Podcasts. And if you've got any questions, you can reach out to us on our takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we'll connect on the next episode.
Take off, take flight with you. Yeah, for we never fly, but